Okay, YouTube, we're back. We'll do a show.
What's happening, YouTube?
We'll do a show. Here comes the music. From the studio, in the bonus room, above the garage, on the north side of Cary, at the foot of Mount Belzoni, this is the Triangle Talk Show. It is episode number 40. We're getting darn close to the half a century mark. December 9th, 2018, snow day. Uh-oh, your video's flaking. Hopefully your audio will be good. So we got me, Gary Pierce, your official snowflake, and on the Skype machine this time is this guy. Talk to people, Bobby.
Hello, everybody, to all the thousands and thousands of people that are watching or listening.
At least thousands.
Yeah, at least.
So
we got ourselves some snow here.
We do.
Reminds me a little bit of home up there in Wisconsin.
Yeah, now you've been down here a few years, right?
No, I have been here for about a year and a half now.
Okay, so you've been through one winter.
Yeah.
In North Carolina. What did you think about North Carolina before you moved down here? What was your impression? What was your pre-existing
NASCAR and hills. That was my idea of it. I didn't think anything of the beach. I didn't think of anything outside of people working on NASCAR stuff and a bunch of hills. So I was largely surprised when I especially moved to downtown Raleigh when I first lived here. So it was kind of an eye opener for me.
What was a surprise? What did you see you didn't expect?
How modern it was. Downtown Raleigh, it was like a huge city compared to where I grew up in Wisconsin.
What town was that?
That was Eau Claire, Wisconsin. I think we had a population of like 40,000 maybe.
Okay.
40,000, somewhere around there. So, and that was a large town for that area. The next biggest city was Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Yeah, Eau Claire is over on the Mississippi, isn't it?
No.
Never mind. Don't pay attention to me.
It's about an hour and a half southeast of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Okay, so it's close to the Mississippi. I mean, 100 miles?
Yeah,
less.
Yeah, you could make a trip to the Mississippi.
From Eau Claire.
Yeah.
What town might I be thinking of? What Wisconsin town? The Mississippi is the western border of Wisconsin.
You could be thinking of 100 different cities.
Okay. Of some size. Well, never mind. That's not what this episode is all about. Did you have any preconceived notions of what the climate was down here?
I knew it was a hell of a lot warmer than Wisconsin in the wintertime. And I was 100% correct on that. I wore shorts for Christmas last year, and that was a first. And I never even thought that would happen ever in my lifetime.
And you may again this year, because things could change from what we've got now. This is very unusual to have this much snow. I was just talking to Cindy. I've been down here for almost 30 years, and I don't remember snow in December. Significant snow. A few dustings, maybe a little bit.
Well, we got maybe like 2-3 inches that one day last year, somewhere around in December or January.
It's okay to prove me wrong.
Well, I remember because I was the only person that showed up to work last year when it snowed.
Okay, it might have, but it's pretty rare for a significant snow, and we probably have 3-4 inches here in Cary, and you're deeper there in Durham, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we have at least 4.
Did you go driving around?
No.
They haven't left the house.
No, I have not. I have seen people try to make it up my driveway to their apartment complex and not succeed. So I said, I'm not even going to try to leave. I mean, I can leave no problem, but the getting back is the problem.
Cindy and I have feral cats that live in the woods about a mile away. So we always have to get out there to feed them because they're depending on us. They probably would be fine. They'd go catch some mice or something. But that's our excuse. So we got out and drove around a little bit, and everything was fine here. I got a 4-wheel drive car with 180,000 miles on it, so I don't care.
Yeah.
So everything was fine. The outside of our driveway, the roads were all plowed. They were just wet, and got over there
The plow
okay.
just came right down my road about 20 minutes ago.
I think I heard a plow going by the window there just a few minutes ago. But all those roads, I don't know why a plow would be going by because there's no snow on that road. So it's all just wet.
Slush.
Yep. And it's not going to get that cold tonight. And now the weather, traffic and weather together on the Triangle Talk Show on the 8s, on the 2s apparently.
Yeah, and the 2s.
Yeah, it's going to go right down to freezing. So on the bridges and overpasses,
yeah,
it's going to freeze.
Nobody really understands that either. The bridges and the overpasses are the first part to freeze.
Yeah. So the thing about moving down here from up north in the winter and the snow is that we learned to drive in it.
Right.
And the folks down here never did.
Yeah, they're morons.
Yet they still try.
They try. You got to give them credit for trying, but they try.
So we think we know how to drive in snow, and we get out and we probably get into as much trouble as they do.
I don't think I've ever been stuck in the snow before. I mean, granted, I have messing around, taking my car through snowbanks and stuff, but as far as driving on the roads or anything, I've never been stuck.
Yeah.
Have you?
Oh, I've been doing it a lot longer than you have. So yeah, at some point, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can avoid those certain situations that your average Joe down here would get themselves stuck into.
Yeah. The problem, of course, is that, you and I know how to drive in this stuff, but all the cars around us don't. So they're dangerous to us. What's today's beverage?
Miller High Life, the champagne of beers.
We're drinking. We're drinking.
It is my one day off, and I've taken advantage of it. I just got done with my nap, and I'm having a cold one, and I'm getting ready to watch some football after this again.
Okay, so the Triangle Talk Show.
And hopefully not fall asleep again.
Triangle Talk Show is brought to you by
the champagne of beers.
Beer. You and that new Supreme Court guy. What was his name? You don't know.
Supreme Court guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not the person to ask about that.
Big fight back in September and October. I don't remember his name either, but he's on the court. He liked beer. That was the thing. He liked beer.
Was he from Wisconsin? Because most Wisconsinites enjoy beer.
I don't know. No, I don't think so. So let me try this phrase on you. See if this rings a bell. If you're out of point, you're out of town.
I don't get it.
Okay, well, the town Stevens Point.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a brewery. And,
what is their brewery called in Stevens Point?
Well, I don't know what the brewery is called, but the beer is called Point.
I have never heard of Point, ever.
And in Chicago, the group that I was hanging around with, Point was, one of those eclectic favorites, but it wasn't available in stores in Chicago. You had to drive. And apparently it was not available in Eau Claire or anywhere else in Wisconsin either. Hence the phrase, if you're out of Point, you're out of town.
Interesting.
Small brewery. I don't know that it was a particularly good or bad beer. I wasn't much of a aficionado. I drank it plenty.
Okay. I've had Point beer before. They got something called Drop Dead Blonde.
I don't. Back when I'm talking about the 80s, before they named beers cute names.
Right.
So it was just point. So apparently the Triangle Talk Show is also brought to you by Point Beer.
Yeah. How we have that relation, nobody will ever figure out.
Yeah. When you've got millions of people watching the show, you're going to have a few dozen from Stevens Point.
Probably, yeah.
The BBC update, still no response from the BBC. I don't know why they haven't jumped right on this. The BBC did a takedown on episode 37 because we played a little bit of footage from one of their shows, the Top Gear, not Top Gun, Top Gear. And they were so offended by that, they had YouTube take the show down, our show down. And I filed a dispute with that, and they jumped right on it. So the dispute is in progress, but the show came back up, and apparently I could monetize it. It says here, viewing restrictions none, monetization none. And the dispute is in progress, and they have until December 18th to respond. So tick-tock, BBC, time is a-wasting if you want to.
I can't imagine we're too high on their agenda list.
And, it's the holidays. They're having the parties and stuff. So they're probably going to miss this. And the 18th is going to come and go, and YouTube will say, you were too late. Your claim is rejected, and someone is going to lose their job over that.
Probably, yeah. Probably the CEO might lose their job because they didn't catch us in time.
Yeah. So take that. Hopefully they're not watching this and it's not reminding them. Try not to play anything from the BBC. On my rundown next, what I wanted to do is correct all the stuff that mostly I got wrong from episode 39. I listened to that, and I don't know if you ever play back the episodes that we do.
From time to time I do.
Just happy enough to just let them go out into the ether. Anyway, so I played it back and I said, oh, geez, that screwed up a lot of stuff in this one. So I'll do a quick recap. And the first thing we were talking about was your distant relative, retired Admiral William McRaven.
Yes.
And the first thing I got wrong was I called him a general. And he was leading a SEAL team, so he's not a general. He's in the Navy. Navy doesn't have generals; they have admirals. Neither one of us could remember what a graduation day was officially called. Yeah, and I think I even looked it up. It's a commencement.
If you make your bed every morning, you will have accomplished the first task of the day. It will give you a small sense of pride.
This is the speech you were talking about.
Another task.
Yep.
And another. And another. And by the end of the day, that one task completed will have turned into many tasks completed. Making your bed will also reinforce the fact that the little things in life matter. If you can't do the little things right, you'll never be able to do the big things right.
So this is his talk at the University of Texas, his commencement address.
Texas, okay.
Yeah, in 2014.
Yeah, I remember when that first came out, and that was a huge deal.
So
somebody so high up just talking about making his bed.
During SEAL training, the students are all broken down into boat crews. Each crew is 7 students, 3 on each side of a small rubber boat.
Okay, so he didn't talk very long about making his bed, but it was a thing. I still don't plan on it. I have better things to do and more inspiring. Like
I'm just lazy.
Just coming up to make notes about a podcast. The reason we were talking about him, besides that he may be a distant relative, I wasn't expecting you to say that he might be. He just shares your name.
Well, I mean, I would imagine that somehow we may be related if we have the same last name, and it's not a common last name like Smith.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that somewhere at some point in whatever time that we would have somebody related to us.
Okay. But you haven't done the genealogy to go.
No, actually, my grandpa does that genealogy pretty heavily, and he's gone as far back as when somebody came over on a boat from way back when, and there is no mention of Admiral McRaven in any of that genealogy that he has completed so far.
So that's leading me to think, maybe not. But
right.
What the heck? That's cool. The other thing we were mentioning was that he was in a little bit of trouble with our esteemed president, Donald Trump. Apparently, he said that the greatest threat to our democracy, current threat, I guess, besides Osama bin Laden, first of all, he led the SEAL team that killed Osama bin Laden. So that's the deal. And he said that Trump's attacks on the news media represented the greatest threat to democracy. And then Trump called him a Clinton backer and an Obama backer, and said, wouldn't it have been nice if he had killed bin Laden earlier? So that was that. Would have been nice, I guess.
I guess.
We talked a
lot.
We will
never know.
We talked a lot about Last Man Standing. And
I see that I was right about something.
You were right about something and wrong about something. The Mandy's, you thought there had been 3, but there had been 2. So Molly Ephraim was the original actress in the first 6 seasons, and then Molly McCook, whose name I couldn't remember, except it was a Molly, is the new Mandy. But you were right about the Kristen character. That's the not the main mom, but the daughter mom.
Yes.
So in the very first season, an actress named Alexandra Krosny played the Kristen character, and I didn't notice that it changed. I'd watched the first several seasons. I didn't notice it. That wasn't a frequent character, I don't think, early on. Then starting in season 2, Amanda Fuller became Kristen. The Kid has had 3 separate people. In the first season, it was Luke. I'm going to go with Crunchev for season 1. Then Flynn Morrison in 2 through 6. And then Jet Juergensmeyer in season 7. And I met Jet when I was out there.
Cool kid. I mean, he's what, probably 10, 12?
13, I think. And he... the reason I met him was he had shown an interest in the ham radio station that they've got there. And so the producer that I know said, would you mind when you come out here and you're going to do your ham stuff, would you mind if he tagged along and watched? And I went, duh, yeah, sure. So we had a good chat. But he played on the radio with me a little bit when I was doing the radio, and I got him on the radio and let him talk to some people. And then when other people were running the radio, my wife and some other friends, I just sat and talked to them about it. Ham radio is hard to explain in a short period of time, but I gave him some background. Very sharp kid. Cool. Very sharp kid. When he was on the radio, I would talk to somebody and then say, here's one of the cast members, and we never get a cast member to talk on the ham radio, but you're lucky enough you're going to get to talk to a cast member. And of course, everybody's deer in the headlights. I don't know what to do. So he didn't know what to say, so I started feeding him some lines, and he parroted them back as if he was a trained actor with the ability to memorize a line and say it convincingly.
Hot dog, look
right
at that.
away. It was pretty cool. The Ryan character, which is the not the dad, but the son-in-law who was a dad. It was a little confusing looking that up on IMDb. The guy that plays that character now, Jordan Masterson, is credited for seasons 2 through 7. Mm-hmm. And then Nick Jonas in season 1 played a character named Ryan, but I'm thinking that wasn't the dad.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Is that the Nick Jonas who's in the rock group?
The rock group, yeah.
Rock. It's a pop music? It's a music group,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Jonas
band.
Brothers.
Yeah, it's the Jonas Brothers. Yeah, just call it a band.
It's a band. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot about Nick Jonas in season 1.
Okay, and I did too. I know I've seen all of those. Before Mars and the Mars series, one of the previous takedowns of a show that I did before, the ham radio show, was not on the Discovery Channel. It was on National Geographic, Nat Geo. Just correcting the record. For the record, I want everyone to know. We talked about Paul Manafort and the movie The Big Short. And somebody famous we were trying to think of would have been in that movie. So I looked up the cast, and none of the cast. First of all, The Big Short didn't have real people in it, and once I was reminded of the story, I've seen that movie, but there weren't any real people. It was based on a book, The Big Short: Inside the Doomsday Machine, and Wikipedia describes it this way. The Big Short describes several of the main players in the creation of the credit default swap market that sought to bet against the collateralized debt obligation bubble, and thus ended up profiting from the financial crisis of 2007-2008. The book also highlights the eccentric nature of the type of person who bets against the market and goes against the grain. It was a fascinating movie, now that I remember it.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, because they had to explain this mouthful that I just said in a way that would not lose a movie audience, and they did very well.
Yeah. Another movie that reminds me of that is that new one with Steve Carell also coming out about, I don't know, some illegal activities that they're doing behind closed doors. I don't remember the name of the movie, but when I saw it, it really reminded me of The Big Short, because it seems like it is the movie topic is something that can be very boring, but if they do it right, it would capture the audience for the entire movie, and it looks really good.
And you don't remember what the name of that one's going to be?
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay. So while you're looking that up, I was thinking maybe the name, none of the names in the book, none of the names of the real people in the 2008 crisis have rung a bell with me. So I'm thinking maybe you were thinking of Gordon Gekko. Okay.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah. Turns out he's not a real person. He was in 1987 film Wall Street, and Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, but it's a fictional character. And then there's another big money guy who was convicted of something, Bernie Madoff. But I don't think he was involved in the 2008 thing. He was, he did pyramid schemes, I think.
Okay.
And he's up in Butner. He's in prison in Butner, just up the road from you.
That movie that I was thinking about is Welcome to Marwin.
And that's
about a guy who has like PTSD or something, and he plays with like action figures or dolls or something, and it's like it's kind of like an animated type movie where this person gets through his PTSD by going through his problems by playing with dolls, and it looks really good.
And that's not out yet?
Actually, it looks like it may be.
Okay. Haven't heard of it. There are so many movies I've never heard of. If I were to, go down the Flickster list of movies in the theaters now, most of them I've never heard of. And when I look across the stuff that's out on Netflix, the new releases from Netflix, I've never heard of any of them.
Well, Netflix doesn't really pick up on a lot of those big box office movies.
Is that one of my radios that's making noise?
Yeah, nothing here is making noise.
Oh. I know what it is. I've got some walkie-talkies behind me. I've been killing their batteries. And when one of them is just about to die, it starts playing WPTF. This is the walkie-talkie. But I've got 8 of them back here. It's not this one. It's not this one. Not this one. It's going to be the last one. It's that one. Fun of doing a live television show. Let's see. So back to Manafort. You were thinking he was a real estate guy. And I was thinking, yeah, probably that's what he was. He wasn't in the 2008 meltdown. But it turns out, no, he's not been involved in real estate at all, either his own or Donald Trump's. He was convicted last August. Federal jury in Virginia convicted him on 8 felony counts. Had a mistrial on 10 other charges, which he may face again. He was convicted on 5 counts of tax fraud, 1 on the failure to file a report of foreign bank and financial accounts, and 2 counts of bank fraud. So tax fraud, bank fraud, and failure to report stuff. None of that is the Russia stuff that everybody is trying to figure out still. It all started in October. He was Trump's campaign manager for a few months, plus and minus the Republican National Convention. So 2016, early summer. His trouble started in October 2017. He was indicted on multiple charges arising from consulting work with a pro-Russian government in Ukraine, Viktor Yanukovych. I can only pronounce that because I've heard it on the news a lot. Before Yanukovych was overthrown in 2014. So he did consulting work for that guy. In February 2018, the tax evasion and bank fraud indictments came along. In June 2018, additional charges were filed for obstruction of justice and witness tampering that are alleged to have occurred while he was under house arrest. So he was sitting at home with the ankle bracelet on, tampering with witnesses, and they sent him to jail. And then last week was the news that the plea deal that he had made with Special Counsel Robert Mueller's office was void because he kept lying to federal investigators. And I'm not going to go into any more details about that, but the potentially juicy stuff was redacted from Mueller's report anyway. So,
right.
Again, only the shoelaces have dropped on all this. We haven't really seen what's going to go on. His history, though, again, no real estate. He advised several presidential campaigns. This is from Wikipedia. I don't have the details on how much he advised them or how much he was a serious advisor, but he advised Ford, Reagan, Bush 41. He's been a lobbyist. In addition to Yanukovych, he was a lobbyist for Philippines dictator Ferdinand Marcos, but no real estate. So
Interesting.
No, you don't think this is interesting at all. You have no interest at all.
I have no interest in it at all, but I think it's interesting that I thought he had something to do with real estate, when in fact he has nothing to do with real estate whatsoever.
Nothing at all. Well, one of the things that Trump may get his himself hung on are his real estate deals, because Trump has been a big real estate guy. So in the background of all the stuff that everyone's looking at from what he did or might have done or says he didn't do was shady real estate deals, and possibly money laundering, because apparently real estate is a great way to launder money.
Good to know.
You buy something, and you buy something with bad money, and then sell it again, and that bad money turned to good money. That's
right,
not...
You're cleaning money is what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah. You got ill-gotten money from something, from some crime, and you got to get it clean so you can spend it. So you use it to buy real estate, which apparently doing that lets you hide where the money came from pretty well. Don't ask me for the details on this. I don't know, but the allegations are, the rumors and the speculation is that some bad guys bought Trump property, cleaned the money through that, and then sold it. And then he was in on it, not that he didn't know.
Right.
Okay. I messed up a Weekend Update skit description really badly.
Uh-oh.
Because I couldn't remember anybody's name, and I couldn't remember exactly what happened, and I named the wrong person as a 50-year-old black female entertainer. Don't ask me for details on things, unless I've researched them thoroughly. It was the cast member was Leslie Jones. The bit was part of Weekend Update, and the premise of the bit was that she was retiring from sex because she was over 50, and who's going to want her anymore? So one of the news anchors, Colin Jost, says that no one in their 50s looks as good as you do. And the other Weekend Update anchor, Michael Che, says, how about Halle Berry, Jennifer Lopez, Judge Judy?
Not Beyonce, though, right?
And right. And I was speculating Beyonce. No, she's 37.
Yeah, she's young.
Probably in terms of current black entertainers, she's probably the only female name that comes to mind for me at all. Just because I'm pretty out of touch. Okay, so I'm going to drag you through a little more politics here. We had talked about District 9.
Not the movie.
No, was that District 9? I guess it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it a movie or was it a short TV series?
I think there's a movie and a TV series.
Aliens, right?
I have no idea. It
Remember
didn't
the name.
appeal to me whatsoever.
I vaguely remember something about aliens who were refugees and they were treated badly. These are not Central American aliens. These are outer space aliens, but they show up here and they're treated badly by us because evidently, unlike most aliens who come to Earth, most of them with evil intent, they have powers. They're bigger and stronger. They can fly. They can zap us.
You know, speaking of aliens, were you ever into Indiana Jones?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Did you watch the last one that they did?
I'm sure I did. Probably more,
Boy.
almost enough times to remember.
Do you remember that last scene in the last Indiana Jones movie when they put the crystal skull in the last alien or something, and then all of a sudden this spaceship comes floating out of the ground? I thought that was pretty far out there.
None of that is ringing a bell. Evidently, I've got to go back and watch that one again.
Yeah, you got to watch that last one. That's the one with Shia LaBeouf.
Okay.
You don't know who that is?
No.
No?
No.
I guess he's kind of a newer actor. I mean, he did TV shows when I was a kid, and then he did the movie Holes. Have you ever seen that movie?
Nope.
Disturbia. Yeah, he did some other newer movies right after he grew up and became a adult. He did some really good movies.
The name almost rings a bell, but only almost.
Yeah.
So what was it? Do you remember the name of that Indiana Jones movie?
Indiana Jones
and the Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm sure I've seen it. I've seen them all. I like them. What I remember most about them is a episode of Big Bang Theory where somebody makes the claim that it was, I'm trying to remember which movie it was. It was the one where they're going after a crypt and trying
the what?
A crypt of some kind, and Germans are going after it. The point of the Big Bang thing was that Indiana Jones' presence in the movie had no effect on what the outcome would have been. I don't remember. This is another one that in our next episode, I'm going to have to go do some research on that and then come back and explain what it was I was trying to explain. But they were going after Jesus's crypt or something like that. And
is that the one with Sean Connery?
Yeah, with his dad, playing his dad. Yeah, I think that was it. Anyway, it was one where the Germans' faces all melted.
Yeah.
And the point from Big Bang Theory, and apparently this is also an argument out there on the internet, is that it didn't matter whether Indiana Jones was present or not. The Germans would have found it and they still would have all melted. So I wish I could remember enough of the details. That you watched
that one was called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
I think that was it. And do you ever watch Big Bang Theory? Is that one of your shows?
No.
Okay, so do you know any of the characters?
Penny and the nerd.
They're all nerds.
Like the head nerd guy.
Sheldon.
That leads the pack of nerds. Sheldon, yeah.
Okay, so it was Sheldon who was distraught at learning this, and then he had to agree with it, and it's pretty much ruined his life. So in our District 9, that is, my first correction is that District 9, I said, was not on the South Carolina border. It was just north of that district. No, this is the district that is on the border with South Carolina. It runs between Fayetteville and the eastern Charlotte suburbs, and it's the one where the voting shenanigans have been going on. Mark Harris was the Republican candidate. He is currently leading by 905 votes. Dan McCready was the great hope of the Democratic Party and the great hope of all of the blue wave Democrats in North Carolina, thinking that was the most flippable seat in North Carolina in congressional elections. Because we're so badly gerrymandered, it's very difficult to flip a seat. But there was hope that it might be possible to flip that one, in part because Dan McCready was a very moderate candidate who might appeal to crossover voters. He's an ex-Marine, I think. Doesn't have a deep political history. Certainly not far left. So, and Mark Harris apparently is a pretty radical right-wing, kind of on the fringe Republican, kind of a weird guy. So the hope was that Harris could overcome the way that district was gerrymandered Republican and turn it blue. And he came close, with 905 votes. So now the short story is that a guy named Leslie McRae Dowless, who apparently is a thing in Bladen County, a well-known guy in Bladen County, was hired by a consulting group for the Harris campaign to run allegedly an absentee ballot collecting operation that benefited Harris. That is a quote from the News and Observer. And it's a pretty mild quote, but the accusation is, and the facts are, I guess, Bladen County had an unusual number of unreturned absentee ballots. And I think it had an unusual number of requested absentee ballots as well, but surprising for the number that were requested, not very many got returned. So that made it stand out. Also making it stand out was that 61% of those absentee ballots voted for Harris, even though only 19% of the absentee ballots were requested by Republicans. So you don't know how people are going to vote. You don't know how people voted. All that is secret.
Yeah.
But you can tell. I could look you up and find out whether you're a registered Republican, Democrat, or unaffiliated. I haven't done it, but I could. All that information is public in North Carolina. So we know that 19% of the ballots were requested by Republicans, and we know that 61% of the vote from absentee ballots were for the Republican. So those two numbers don't make sense. You can't tell much beyond that from those numbers other than it is suspicious. But what you've got as actual hard facts are affidavits from voters and from volunteers who handed out the ballots and who collected them back up. And you're not allowed to collect backup ballots. The only people that can send the ballots back are the person voting or a close relative. And apparently this happens down in Bladen County, both by the Democrats and the Republicans. They run these absentee voter schemes, I guess I'll call them. And in addition to convincing people to hand them out or to take them, they'll go collect them. And then the suspicion is that they will then look at them. And if they're voting the wrong way, they'll just throw them away. And then they'll turn in the ones that have voted properly.
That's crazy.
I mean, well, apparently it's been a thing down there. And again, not just Democrats or not just Republicans. Democrats have done it too. So they're looking into the potential that there was this same kind of shenanigans going on in the primary when Harris won the primary over, I think the guy's name was Pittenger, who's the incumbent. And what may happen, what kind of looking like it's going to happen is they'll just run that election again in Bladen County. So
wow,
here we go again. So we got we got a Congress office that is going to be open. The Democratic leadership in Congress, in the Capitol, the U.S. Capitol in Washington, say that they will not seat Harris. They'll be in charge at that point, and they say that, at least until this investigation is over, they're not going to seat him. So he's not going to get to be a congressman until an investigation clears him completely or doesn't, and maybe there'll be another election.
So the person that's in there right now is staying in there longer than they would normally.
No, I think the seat would be open, and we'd have one less congressman at that point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we'll see. So that's the correction and the update. I guess the only thing to add to it is that out there in the election world, it was supposed to be like a blue wave across the country, electing a lot of Democrats. They couldn't flip Senate seats because of the nature of the way the states that had open, the third of the states that had open Senate elections were all generally pretty red, and a lot of the see, here I go again. I'm trying to wade into something where I don't really have the background information to say what I want to say. These are the things I write out and make a script when I'm going to get into it. It wasn't going to be a good election for Democrats, and it turned out not to be. But in the House, a different story. In the House, we're thinking it's going to be a blue wave. And after Election Day, it looked kind of like, very weak blue wave. The Democrats took seats, but not as many as people thought. But a lot of elections immediately on election night hadn't been called. They weren't quite counted yet. And then as they got more and more counted, got better and better for Democrats until it's been the best midterm election for Democrats since I was a kid, back in the late 1800s. And so now the pundits are saying it wasn't just a blue wave, it was a blue tsunami for Democrats. 40 House seats have changed, and if McCready gets his seat, it'd be 41. So that's pretty huge. Don't you wish you really cared about politics in the news?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm hearing clattering downstairs. I don't know if the audience can hear any clattering, but I'm hearing.
I can.
Yeah. So Cindy's making dinner. I'm not going to complain. Did you watch any TV today?
Football.
On what? ESPN?
No, ESPN doesn't have any football anymore except Monday night games, and those games are horrible. So Fox has Thursday night and some of the games on Sunday. CBS has some of the games. They're scattered throughout all different networks.
Okay, so you must have been watching it. I don't know that they would have preempted any football games, but all day long, Channel 5 and 11, and I didn't look at 17, but 5 and 11 were just doing local weather coverage as if it was a hurricane. It was 6 inches of snow. But
I don't have local TV.
Because
I just don't. I have everything going through my Fire TV stick.
Okay. What service do you use?
I got Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, and then I also have Dish, but that's through my dad, so I use my dad's username and password.
And that gets you TV from Wisconsin.
Yes. Yeah. So I get to watch all the Packer games.
Which is what you want. So perfect.
That's the whole reason why I have a TV.
Okay. Well, you could put on an antenna on the TV.
I could, and I've tried, but in order to get my antenna set up right, I have to drag it across the room from where my TV is because it's a wall-mounted TV. I have to drag the antenna cord all the way across into the window, and it's just such a pain in the butt that I did it, and it worked for a second, and I'm like, no, this looks horrible.
Okay, so no local news, no local programming at all.
No, but I do from time to time when like this snowstorm and like when the hurricane was coming, I do go on YouTube on my TV and watch some of the live local stuff that they have on YouTube. Yeah,
when it's bad, I guess. Well, you discovered they put it on YouTube. I guess I didn't know that, but There's
only one that I found, and it's ABC 11, ABC something. I don't know what it is.
ABC 11, yeah. They on their websites, on their own websites, I think they broadcast all of their local news shows, whether it's the weather is bad or not, live on their websites. So you could get it. Yeah, you could get them. They can't put the network programming on the websites for licensing reasons,
right?
But they'll put their newscasts there, and you can watch them. And you can probably watch in delayed. You can watch them play back. I would imagine. I haven't really done that. But I was watching Channel 5, and then I decided I'm going to go watch Channel 11 and see what they're doing with the weather thing. And I switched over and watched them for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then suddenly a screen came on that said, due to contractual obligations are not allowed to present this programming on, I use YouTube TV, not allowed to provide this programming. And I thought, well, I know what's happened. The automation was set up for a football game, and the YouTube TV couldn't carry that for some reason. They didn't know that, and it wouldn't have been a local game of interest because they wouldn't have preempted that for 6 inches of snow.
Right.
But they didn't, so they didn't have it set up so to be aware that they were just playing local news, and so, so suddenly can't watch the local news because some contract prevented it.
That's weird.
Well, it would, all that stuff would have been set up in advance and automated, and then nobody got to turn that off. Nobody was thinking, oh, YouTube TV is going to dump us because they think we're going to do a football game. So.
I did start watching the Weather Channel yesterday, and one of the guys that's on there, he was in Asheville, and I listened to him for about 30 seconds, and I said, God, this guy is horrible. I got to find somewhere else to watch the weather that's coming my way. And then I went on YouTube.
The guy's name was probably Jim Cantori.
Okay. I watched him again this morning when I got up, and I was like, I should probably check on the weather as I saw all of the snow outside. And I turned it on again, and this guy was trying to push a car out of a ditch, the same guy. And he was telling the driver about all this stuff about, oh, yeah, you're bottomed out and you're not going to be able to get out. And he was calling some guy to pull him out. And I'm like, I'm done with this. Giving this guy 2 chances and he still sucks.
If it was Jim Cantori, and it probably was, he is a thing. And the thing is that if he shows up in your town, you're screwed. Weather-wise. Only bad things are going to happen. So Cindy noticed on her Facebook wall.
It was Jim Cantori.
Yeah. Cindy noticed that somebody posted a picture of him going through the Charlotte airport and saying, oh no, Cantori's in town. We are screwed. So apparently he went up to Asheville, which is going to be more interesting than Charlotte. Charlotte didn't get much snow, but Asheville got creamed.
Asheville, I think they were calling for a foot.
Yeah. And it makes sense. He would fly into Charlotte and then head up to Asheville. They got an airport up there, but I don't think they got a lot of connections. So, so if you ever see or hear that Cantori has showed up in town and a hurricane or other bad weather is coming, you're screwed.
They got 11 inches in Asheville. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Over 18 inches.
Yeah. In 2000, the year 2000, right here in Raleigh and Cary, 20 inches in January.
Wow.
I think my deepest snow that I remember in Chicago is 26 inches.
Yeah.
And, even that's unusual for Chicago. An 8-inch snowfall is not that big a deal.
Right.
And up in Wisconsin, it's probably pretty common.
It is, yeah. I mean, you see snow over the top of stop signs. I mean, yeah. that you're coming to the end of winter. That's how you know when winter's about to end.
Oh, because that's when the bad ones are. Oh, because it never goes away. It's there all winter.
All the snow stays there, and once all the snow is pushed up onto the side of the road there, and it covers the stop sign, you know that you've reached your maximum potential for snow that year, and winter's about to end.
Chicago would usually have enough of a thaw sometime in January or February that would melt all the snow and then start over.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, not every year. Sometimes some of the dirty, crusty, disgusting snow would remain. But down here, you discovered a little bit from last year, and you'll discover this year that this will hang around, could hang around for a few days. We're going to be in the 40s. So
I was really hoping that I didn't have to go to work tomorrow.
Have they called it off yet?
Man, they don't call anything off. I had to work the day before Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving. And yeah, then they're from South Korea. So they don't understand, like for Christmas, they're open the 23rd of Christmas and they're open the 26th of Christmas. And
so you get Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and that's it.
Well, this is my last week there. I'm done. So
okay.
When I first realized that what they're doing, like classes on Halloween, I thought to myself,
no one's going to show up.
Why am I teaching children on Halloween when there's going to be 5 kids the whole entire day and we got 8 instructors here? Like this just doesn't add up. And then I started to think, all right, Thanksgiving's going to be the same way and Christmas.
Yeah. Run it as a Halloween party. Have all the kids come dressed up and destroy their costumes fighting.
You know, we used to do Halloween parties back at my school, and you know, it was a big hit, but they don't do anything like that where I'm at now. It's very, very basic. Classes and that's it.
And you say you are leaving that job?
Yes.
And do you want to reveal to the audience? Have you told your own podcast audience what you're going to do?
No, I don't talk about my personal stuff on my podcast.
That's the most fun stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's that interesting. But yeah, I'm done with that and moving on to something else. I don't care what it is, and just anything else would be nice.
Okay, well, it's holiday temp season. You can go get a job at Target, loading boxes.
I got some stuff lined up that if I want it, I just gotta kind of tell them that I want it. But I don't know. I kind of want to go up to Wisconsin coming up here maybe in the next week or so. And if I'm tied down with a new job, I'm not going to be able to do that. So I think I might just take a week and head up north for a couple days and then come back and then jump on one of those jobs right before the new year.
They tell me that is really common in folks your age. That I grew up in the era where you worked for one company your whole life. My dad did work for one company his whole life and then retires from it. I didn't do that. The longest employment stint for me was 10 years. So I worked for several different companies, but I think I was early in that trend. But yeah, starting my age and maybe a little bit younger, no more working for one company. So just jumping from one to another and totally changing careers is apparently not that unusual.
Well, I don't want to necessarily change careers, but I feel that this place that I'm at now it rubbed me the wrong way a little bit in more than one way, and I just need a break from it all for at least a little bit, at least 6 months, I think.
If they're among our millions, if they're among our millions of podcast listeners, they know now. Yeah,
there you go.
Hey, surprise, guys!
Surprise.
They're probably not listening. Know who Silent Sam is?
I do.
So, Silent Sam got torn down earlier this year.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't think that was recent.
Yeah, well, not recent as in a couple weeks ago, but a couple months ago. In a violent protest.
Yep.
A violent protest in which no one was hit. but they tossed some ropes over him and pulled him down. So the question was, well, what do we do with him? There is a state law that says that you can't move a Civil War monument. It may be more than Civil War, but that's what the intent was. And Confederate, the only Civil War monuments we have in North Carolina are Confederate monuments. I'm lying about that. I know that there's a few others, but these are the controversial ones. So the legislature saw this sort of thing coming up on their radar a couple of years ago and passed a law that said you can't move them without approval of the State Historic Commission or something like that. Another one of those
historical society.
Yeah, another one of those things that I don't have the background on as deeply as I'd like, but something like that. So this got pulled down. So, what are they going to do? They apparently some limitation on time for being able to temporarily relocate one that needs to get work done on it or whatever. And so the University of North Carolina had to decide what to do about it, and they've come up with a plan. They're going to build. They're going to build a $5 million building on the corner of the campus. I'm not familiar with the UNC campus, so I don't know how out of the way this is. Build a $5 million building for it. They're calling it
just one statue.
Well, I don't have the details, and the details have not been reported. They're calling it a single-use building, but I don't know if the single use is to house Silent Sam or to house historic memorabilia from the Civil War. I don't know. And I don't think those details have been ironed out, much less revealed.
Okay.
But that's the idea. $5 million building to move him into. And then they're budgeting $800,000 a year for security. And it'll be a highly secure building.
Honestly, if somebody just put it in their basement for a year and then put it back out after a year, I don't think anybody would even notice.
Well, Silent Sam, they would. It's well enough known around here. It's a thing. So the alt-right, the white supremacist movement, is going, yeah, and the left is saying, no, you're building a shrine to Silent Sam, and the right is going, yeah, a shrine to Silent Sam, and the guys a little bit more not quite so alt-right are going, unacceptable. It's got to go right back where it started. That's what the law says. So no one is happy. No one likes this kind of a weenie resolution. I'm
sorry. Say that again.
Nobody.
My headphones.
Nobody likes it. The kind of weenie resolution. Everybody's unhappy. Initially, I thought, I don't know. My initial thought of what should be done with it is, yes, it should go someplace, some museum. All the Confederate monuments should be taken out of their places of prominence in public squares and put in some place of context. Well, we can just toss a lot of them away. But a few of them, we don't want to ignore the history. You want to remember the history.
Yeah.
But put them in context, put them someplace where they can be right next to other things that said, this is what they were all about, and this is how things have developed since then. So I didn't have a problem with moving him. I didn't have a problem with moving him somewhere else on campus. Paying that much money to build, especially if it's just a building for him, for that statue, I can see that as something to be unhappy about. But I just thought it was interesting to see that both sides immediately went to the wall. No, absolutely not. Unacceptable. A shrine. And yay, a shrine. Perfect. What a great idea. And then somebody else saying, no, it's got to go right back where it was. Usually if no one is happy, then you've accomplished a good compromise.
Yeah. Everybody's equally unhappy.
So once again, your Yankee Northern perspective. When I was living up north, I didn't think about any of this stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even know any of this would be a part of my life at any point.
Yeah, and when I got down here, when I first got down here, no one was talking about this stuff. It's all come up more recently.
Yeah.
So you have arrived right in the middle of the controversy and are probably, I don't know.
Yeah, lucky me.
Well, no one's asking.
I remember. I think my grandma called me because if she sees something about the state of North Carolina that's somewhat significant, she'll call and tell me about it just to make sure that I don't do anything stupid. Like, I FaceTimed her this morning, and I showed her the snow, and she's like, "Oh, Bobby, you have over a feet of snow," and I'm like, "What the hell are you talking about? How do you know that I have a foot of snow? I do not." She's like, "Oh, no, that's not what the weatherman said." And I'm like, whatever. I'm not even going to get into it with you. And I remember she called me when she saw all that stuff on the news about Durham. She's like, "Bobby, you have to stay safe. You have to turn on your lights when you're not home to make sure somebody thinks that you're home. And you got to leave your front light on the whole entire day. And you got to make sure your door's locked at night." And I'm like, oh, my God. It's the reality we live in now, I guess.
It is a realtor that we were dealing with some when we got this house was telling us how good a decision we were making to buy a house in Cary and not looking at Durham. And
how long ago was that?
We bought this house 11 years ago. So yeah, 11 years ago. But, I mean, Durham is very multi-ethnic, and there's black people in Durham. There aren't very many in Cary. That was
you're absolutely right.
The subtext of that was, you don't want to be in Durham. There's black people in Durham.
You know, just in my neighborhood right here, there's black people, Mexican. There's no Indian, which is extremely surprising because it's the exact opposite in Cary there. It's like white people and Indian people, and that's it.
Yeah. And my little neighborhood, brand new. It's only been 15 years ago. This was a forest. So this is all brand new. And it's very, very diverse. But that's unusual for Cary. But you're right. There's a real, here in Morrisville, very big Indian population.
Yeah.
But we've also got Asian and an African American. So there's quite a bit. White people are probably the majority in the neighborhood, but just barely.
Yeah.
Kind of like the country right now.
There you go.
So anyway, I'm pretty sure the Silent Sam story is not over. These are just.
Yeah, I don't think it's over by a long shot.
Yeah. This is not a decision. It's a proposal. And it's going to get batted around some more. So maybe be batted around, maybe batted around so long. I don't know. No one knows where it's being hidden because they're afraid that or it's being stored that, someone will break in and melt it down, I guess. Melt it down for scrap, which will be fine with me. But maybe this thing will sit around long enough that no one's going to forget.
Well, they'll probably move on to something else to complain about.
Well, yeah, but this will keep coming up, and we're not going to forget. All right, we have chewed up our hour. It has been a pleasure. Anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Okay. I think we did our fair share on our last episode for 2 hours, right?
Yeah, we did. We went over 2 hours, so we did good. or for the folks that don't want to listen, that enjoy listening to us but don't want to listen for that long. Yeah, I know how this works. Not very many people make it to the end of a show. Most people, something else is going on, they'll bail out. Most podcasts that I listen to the end. I'm committed.
Right.
Where my fail would be is that my podcast list, the stuff that downloads overnight, will have 20 or 30 podcasts in them, more hours of podcasts than there are in the day to listen to them. So
exactly.
I just absolutely don't get to most of them. But the ones I get to, I typically will listen all the way through, even the 2 hour ones. So if I like them.
Right.
So I guess it's not so much what they're talking about, but who's doing the talking. They're friends.
Yeah.
They're people I like to listen to. How long do you do your shows?
The first 2 seasons that I did, I tried to stick around 30 minutes just because I didn't want to run into that problem where, it just felt like we were rambling on and on. But I think I'm going to try to stick with the same thing, 30 minutes, but it's probably going to actually turn into about 25-ish, 24 minutes worth of talking because I got ads that I run in my show.
Yeah.
So between all those ads and everything, it'll probably be 24 minutes worth of talking.
How do you actually say anything in that short a period of time?
Well, we hit certain things. Like I got my list right here. And like we're going to hit on concussion protocol in our first episode. So if you listen to our podcast, there you go. Nobody knows about that yet. We're going to talk about concussion protocol. And I'm just going to talk about it for 30 seconds, move on to the next thing, and then I'll bring on a special guest later on in the episode to discuss it further. But, it's like a 5-minute conversation. That's all I got time for.
Now,
So,
would that be the football-related concussion protocol, or is that affecting other things?
well, that's going to be one of the relations is like football concussion protocol is a huge deal. And in mixed martial arts and cage fighting, it's not talked about. So we're wondering if it is a huge deal like they make it out to be in the NFL, or even what is the actual protocol if somebody gets a concussion. What do you have to do as a person that's looking out for the safety of these fighters? And I have a guy that has been on my show before that's coming on to talk to me about that. He's a cut man. So when somebody gets knocked out or something, he's the guy that has to go in there and, stop the bleeding and make sure that he's okay, that he can stand. And I don't know exactly what he actually does when that happens. That's going to be one of the things that I talked to him about, but he's going to shine some light on that subject for us a little bit.
In the fighting that you're involved in, are blows to the head, real hard blows to the head, a big part of it?
Like what I do personally or what I talk about?
Either way.
So what I cover in my show is something called point fighting, mainly. Point fighting is like kickboxing, except it's controlled. So a lot of guys get kicked in the head. A lot of guys get punched in the face, but it's all controlled. So nobody's getting hurt. And on top of that, they're wearing helmets. But then on the flip side, when we talk about like UFC and just mixed martial arts in general, when you're going into the cage and fighting, you're trying to knock that other person out. So there's two different things right there. There's the controlled way for point fighting, and then there's the full contact mode for mixed martial arts.
Is a knockout pretty much going to be a guaranteed concussion?
Yeah. I would
they-
say so.
they
I
hit
mean,
somebody-
you're getting
hit
you are
somebody hard
getting
enough.
kicks- yeah, you're getting kicked in the head so hard that you lose consciousness, and I would imagine that would just be an automatic concussion, right? I mean, I don't know.
Well, you will after you've done the research for this upcoming episode.
I certainly will, and I'll let you in on that.
Yeah. Cool. I might even listen. You never know.
We'd love to have you.
I'm not a big sports guy. I'm glad you're here for the sports. I'll do the traffic and weather together. And now here's Bobby with the sports.
Hey, Packers won today. I'm a happy guy.
Who were they playing, and how badly did they beat them?
They were playing. Oh, shoot.
Did you watch?
Well, I fell asleep.
Must not have been an exciting game.
Well, I knew they were going to win. I don't remember who they played, but they won. It was like 34-14 or something.
Okay, so
But they fired their head coach last week through this in the season, which I am not happy as a Packer fan that they did that. I mean, this guy was a guy that gave Green Bay, the city, a Super Bowl and took him to the playoffs year after year after year. And everybody knew that the coach was going to be gone after this year, and they just decided to dump him with 4 or 5 weeks left. I thought that was a low blow.
sounds like a "what have you done for us lately" situation.
Yeah, it almost seems like they were just caught up in the moment and not looking at the overall picture about what he did.
They hired somebody else.
They just got an interim head coach right now. Some guy just stepped up from the coaching staff. So we're looking for a head coach.
Are they mathematically still in contention?
No.
They're out of it.
That loss last week, it was pretty much impossible for us to make our way into the playoffs. And that's, I think, why they ended up firing the coach. It's because of that.
See, I'm not as stupid about sports as I look like. At least the intrigue of it. All right, Bobby. Let's see. Where were we? We were episode 40. We've done 40 episodes of this show.
You have. I have
Well,
not.
I have. I mean, me and all the other people that have helped me on and off. That's pretty good. We made it past our 7 episode. That's the point where people say, if you're starting a new podcast, the odds are you're going to fade by 7 episodes. So we've blown that one out of the water. We'll stick around. December
Very
9th,
good.
2018, snow day with Admiral Bobby McRaven. Oh, you wanted something besides "is awesome" on your lower third. For those of you that are watching, we'll have to come up with whatever it is you want to do. I mean, we could put something like sportkarateradio.com.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, you can just put Sport Karate Radio on there if you want.
Okay.
It's a little bit better looking than "is awesome."
Self-promotion, nothing wrong with that. And, then there's me, Gary Pierce. I am the Snowflake. And that will be it for this episode of the Triangle Talk Show. Get to the YouTube turn off button and we'll shut her down. Over.
And
out.